We have to really have a major crisis, collapsing the currencies, before everybody's minds are focused enough to accept a solution. That solution would be a lot more radical than most people think.
All this gold we've been bringing back and not telling anyone about, do you think that the only gold coming back is coming back through COMEX? Hell no, it ain't. It's coming back through proxy banks and the JP Morgan's vault, and there's so much more gold coming back than is just being recorded on COMEX. I guarantee it. So we bring all this gold back, and then we devalue the hell out of the dollar and revalue gold to a level that not only benefits us, but it benefits all the central banks of the world who have been accumulating it hand over fist since 2016 and 17. Hand over fist. Look at the charts. They're the ones buying it all. They're not going to care. They're not going to be as pissed off when they've been buying it all.
I think all this talk about gold revaluation is premature. I really do. Apart from anything else, we all know, I mean, the world's biggest open secret is that the US Treasury doesn't exactly have 8,130 odd tons, which it states it has. How much it has, I really don't know. Before any gold standard could be contemplated, there would have to be an audit, a proper audit, an independent audit of US gold reserves. I don't see that happening. The other thing is that the system, that both the Treasury and also the Fed don't understand basic economics. They don't understand why money, corporeal money in the form of gold, is so important. It anchors the value of credit. They don't understand this at all. They're macroeconomists. They're not classical economists who, over centuries, work things out. That was all discarded by Keynes in 1936 in favor of governments manipulating our lives. So we're talking about climbing down completely from that sort of situation where governments actually have an awful lot of discretion as to what they can do with their currencies. I just don't see it. I mean, it's people who think that this is going to happen, I think, are people who fundamentally believe that things are under control of the government and government can just turn around and do things slightly differently. That's not the case. They really cannot. I mean, in this country, we've got a highly socialist government, and we saw not so long ago the Chancellor of the Exchequer, our finance minister, sobbing in Parliament over her predicament.
Modern central banks operate under Keynesian principles, favoring state intervention and monetary manipulation over commodity-backed discipline. Classical economists, however, argued that gold anchored money's value and kept governments accountable. Since the 1930s, this discipline has been abandoned, leaving credit expansion unchecked. The Federal Reserve and Treasury prioritize short-term economic growth and political flexibility rather than financial stability. Critics say this detachment from hard money has paved the way for today's crises: mounting debt, endless deficits, and currency debasement. To return to gold would require dismantling decades of policy built on inflationary finance, a step policymakers resist.
And this is not a personal matter, which was sort of meant to be part of the story. I mean, the fact of the matter is that her Treasury officials will have told her that her first budget was an absolute disaster. They probably advised her against doing it, but as a union member, as a far left socialist, all this sort of schoolboy socialism type stuff, which these people have fed on, and haven't been able. They haven't been able to sort of pursue these fancies. She pursued these fancies and basically screwed everything up. So what happens? You find that the cabinet then has to try and come up with welfare cuts. And surprise, surprise, the parliamentary party, whose members are all elected to protect welfare payments and enhance them, refuse to go along with it. So the whole thing is just, a complete and utter mess. And the idea that with that sort of commitment to welfare states, that we can turn around on dime and introduce new gold standards. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Crisis first, solution second. We have to really have a major crisis, collapsing the currencies, before everybody's minds are focused enough to accept a solution. That solution would be a lot more radical than most people think.
Despite resistance, major banks have hinted at gold's potential role in resetting the financial system. Analysts at Bank of America suggest central banks could revalue gold to reduce overwhelming debt burdens. Every $4,000 increase per ounce could free trillions for the U.S. Treasury. At $10,000 gold, America could gain over $2.5 trillion. At $24,000, more than $6 trillion. This wouldn't solve debt entirely, but could buy time. Such a move would effectively devalue the dollar, making U.S. debt easier to repay, but also reshaping global trade, savings, and investment. History shows governments often choose currency devaluation over default.
Well, I want to first start by saying I will often cite Alasdair's work. Often credit him when I'm on with Dunnigan and others that he's the smartest guy in the industry. So I say this with respect, and I'm going to take an opposite viewpoint on this because I've been trying to think how we get out of this sticky wicket. I'll just cite two other things real quick before I jump into that. Michael Hartnett, analyst at Bank of America, came out just the other day and said central banks will be forced to revalue gold reserves to reduce domestic debt burden. Very positive for gold. And then Francisco Blanche, Bank of America Securities, says gold revaluation bullish for gold, showing it's no longer a barbarous relic but a key asset for central banks. Now even the biggest central bank of them all is taking a renewed interest in gold. He said that on Bloomberg TV the other day. So here's the deal. Every $4,000 increase in the price of gold would give the Treasury General account $1 trillion free and clear. Put gold at $10,000, they get $2.5 trillion. And that's the number that Mike Maloney came up with by using M1, dividing it into the money supply. Guys like James Rickards said 24,000, and he has another metric for doing it at $24,000. I want to suspend everything we know about logic right now and just say at $24,000 it would give the Treasury General account $6 trillion free and clear to work down their debt. What it would really do is devalue the dollar. Now I want people to think about this for a moment. If Trump really does want to reshore manufacturing, which I do believe is a noble cause and must be done, 60% of this country has no college education. AI is going to eviscerate and kneecap a lot of white-collar jobs. We need to put people to work. But we have $28 trillion coming due, you guys, in 3 years in treasuries that are maturing. By 2028, we owe $28 trillion.
Being the world's reserve currency once granted the U.S. enormous advantages: cheap borrowing, global demand for dollars, and control of trade flows. But economist Robert Triffin warned of the paradox. Supplying dollars globally would hollow out U.S. manufacturing. Today, Washington faces this reality. Supply chains are fragile, rivals like China dominate production, and America's industrial base has eroded. Some policymakers now openly question whether the exorbitant privilege is worth the cost. To bring back factories and jobs, the U.S. may need a weaker dollar. Gold revaluation could be the hidden lever to accelerate that shift.
We have a $3 trillion a year spending deficit, right? So that's another 9. 28 and 9 is 37. We take in $5 trillion a year in tax revenue. What the hell do you do there? You're halfway there. Not even, you're a third of the way there to what you owe. So my feeling is they're going to destroy the value of the dollar to support the bond market in order to bring back manufacturing. Let me explain. I do believe they will revalue gold. I do. And when I did an interview with Judy Shelton, she as much told me so. Now, to Alasdair's point, she said first thing would need to be done would be to audit the gold. And she got very angry that their excuse was that it was logistically challenging and too expensive, as the gold is spread between the New York Fed, West Point Mint, the Denver Mint, and Fort Knox. She said, we're the United States, for God's sake, spend a few $1 million and audit the stuff already. So that she did say was important. I said, Judy, do you know that gold is held on every central bank balance sheet in the West in an account, you can't make it up, called the gold revaluation account. That is the name of it on the balance sheet. It had been done in 33. It had been done in 72 and 73. Nixon devalued the dollar in 72, moved gold from 35 to 38, did it again in 73 from 38 to 42.22, where it stayed on the books till today. When Roosevelt confiscated gold in 33, he didn't revalue gold, he devalued the dollar, which revalued gold. He dropped the dollar by 40% and then revalued gold from $20 to $35 an ounce. Now, ask yourself this question. A, how do we bring back manufacturing? We cannot have the world manufacture our pharmaceuticals, our military equipment and components, our aircraft components, our microchips, everything. And this is the problem with being the world reserve currency. In fact, Vice President Vance even came out and said, and he wrote this on White House letterhead citing Triffin's dilemma, which says when you're the world reserve currency, you'll always have an imbalance in trade and your manufacturing gets hollowed out and sent abroad because we cannot give the world enough in the way of dollars, specifically.
Hints of a potential shift come not only from analysts, but also insiders. Judy Shelton, once nominated to the Federal Reserve, revealed discussions of issuing gold-backed treasuries by 2026, America's 250th anniversary. Central banks worldwide already account for gold revaluation on their balance sheets, a relic of past resets in 1933 and 1971. Meanwhile, nations have been quietly repatriating gold, strengthening reserves ahead of a possible systemic shakeup. These movements suggest preparation for a future where gold once again supports global finance, not as a relic, but as a stabilizing anchor amid declining faith in fiat money.
Just through trade in order for them to have enough liquidity to do what they need to do. So there will always be a exporting of US dollars, creation of dollars and exporting it to the world who sell their currency to buy ours, making ours expensive and theirs cheap. Therefore, we send the manufacturing to them in a much cheaper environment. They make all the world's stuff for us, the toys and the trinkets and all the stuff that we buy, and then they put their reserves into US treasuries. That's been the plan, right? And that has kept our asset prices high because of low interest rates. It's kept rates low and goods that we buy at Walmart and Target really cheap. It's been great for this country, except we went and screwed up a good thing by becoming the largest debtor nation on the planet. So Vance comes out and says, at this stage of the game, being the world reserve currency isn't such an honor and such a good thing for the US dollar because we have no manufacturing and it's gonna only get worse. So he came out and acknowledged this, right? He acknowledges that Triffin's dilemma isn't such a good thing anymore. So maybe they don't want the world reserve currency. You think about the way we're tariffing our allies, Canada and Mexico and Japan and UK and Australia and the European Union. That's not how you treat your friends, especially after the last 4 years where our administration was literally too stupid to be stupid. It's not how you treat your buddies, right? No, you don't. You hug them and say, let's go, let's get stronger. No, you want to do business with us? It's a tariff. But what about the exorbitant privilege of the fact that we expect you to take dollars and put reserves in treasuries like the UK, who's become number 2, but we're still going to tariff you. Oh, so let me get this straight. We have to pay for everything in your currency, put the reserves in treasuries, and then you're going to tariff us? And you get this exorbitant privilege of low interest rates and high asset prices and cheap goods? Nuts to you. Well, maybe that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to be the world reserve currency anymore, but we want to bring back manufacturing because we have to, because either that or default or we hyperinflate. We can't grow our way out of this problem.
No transition to a gold standard will happen smoothly. History shows that governments only adopt radical reforms in crisis. With U.S. debt nearing $40 trillion by 2028 and deficits widening, the options are narrowing: default, hyperinflation, or controlled devaluation. Revaluing gold provides a politically viable soft default, benefiting nations stockpiling bullion while punishing savers in paper currency. As AI disrupts jobs and geopolitical rivalries intensify, pressure to restore stability grows. The question is not if gold will return to prominence, but when and under what circumstances. In financial history, collapse often comes first, solutions only follow.
So here's what I'm thinking, and this is why I think gold will be revalued, okay? So we got the stablecoin bill that's going to run the front end of the market, the short-term treasuries. you got the Treasury Secretary saying, yeah, we can get $2 trillion a year in this or more. You get all these corporations selling stable coins, so you get enough money to run the front end of the government. The back end of the government, back end of the Treasury market, of the yield curve, will be, I believe, if you listen to what Judy said to me, she said, Andy, when I was on the transition team with Trump, and for those of you by now who don't know, Judy Shelton was Trump's nominee to run the Federal Reserve in 2016. She wasn't confirmed. Many think that she's in the running for this time when Powell's tenure expires. But she said he told me in no uncertain terms that he would issue gold-backed treasuries on July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the country. So the first step would be to reshore all the gold. We become wicked massive importers of gold, right? Okay, so you reshore it. I said, Judy, why hasn't it been audited? Well, it's gonna get audited, she said. I said, do you know it's held in the gold revaluation account? That's the name of it? Yes, Andy, actually I do. Do you think it'll be revalued, Judy? Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance it will be, Andy. Now, this is all on my video. You can go listen to it. She's been saying this again lately, but why would you do that? Let's put it all together. So the stablecoin runs the front end. Now, if you revalue gold, let's just pick Jim Rickard's number at 24,000. You're talking about a 50, 60% devaluation of the US dollar, right? How do you pay $28 trillion in 3 years? You devalue the hell out of the currency, you inflate the crap out of it, you softly default on the US dollar. We tell the world, look, and look what Vance is saying, it's not a privilege anymore. Triffin's dilemma, we got to bring back our manufacturing. How can we do it if we were the world reserve? Well, maybe we don't want to be the world reserve. Maybe what we want to do is devalue the hell out of the dollar, revalue gold. Who benefits who? Well, it certainly benefits us with all the gold we've been bringing back. And maybe to Alasdair's point, all this gold we've been bringing back and not telling anyone about, do you think that the only gold coming back is coming back through COMEX? Hell no, it ain't. It's coming back through proxy banks and to JP Morgan's vault. And there's so much more gold coming back than is just being recorded on COMEX. I guarantee it. So we bring all this gold back, and then we devalue the hell out of the dollar and revalue gold to a level that not only benefits us, but it benefits all the central banks of the world who have been accumulating it hand over fist since 2016 and 17. Hand over fist. Look at the charts. They're the ones buying it all. They're not going to care. They're not going to be as pissed off when they've been buying it all.